Greg Machos from GMC Hoops sits with me to my left. He will join us here for a couple minutes here at halftime. Get his thoughts. Well, first of all, give me your thoughts on the game so far.
It's kind of what I expected. Both teams are down a little bit this year. New Brunswick's in the red. North Brunswick's lost all those guys from last year, plus Marquise Perry's not playing because he's focusing on track. But I figured it'd be a competitive game. I would say North Brunswick is probably the top of the second tier of that white division right now. But, I mean, it's been a pretty competitive game at this point. I saw when I came in, North Brunswick was up 12-2, 12-3.
Yep.
New Brunswick's missed a lot of shots up close. It missed a lot of layups.
Yes.
But North Brunswick kind of responded a little bit in kind. But I would say it's more New Brunswick. They've had a lot more opportunities to get baskets on the inside. And Deion Jackson and Josiah Brown really haven't had the type of game they had against Roselle last week. Mm-hmm. But they've still, I mean, Josiah's played pretty well to this point. And Deion had a bucket there. But Ian Morris made a big, was a big factor down the stretch there. Couple big threes.
Yeah.
And then you got Timmy Balaji with that little score off the break there.
Yeah. Balaji's played better as of late.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a project, but he's got a big body, and he did show some gradual improvement during the summer. He could be definitely a good player for you guys. He's just, I think, he's definitely a guy that can give you some presence down low if he comes into his own there. Yep. And then, of course, you got Frankie and Jackie Garbolino. You got Ian Morris. You got some guys that can play there. Obviously, if you had Marquise back, that would help you a lot.
Yeah.
And Jameer Jones hasn't played too poorly either, and you got Brandon. So.
Yeah, only 4 guys on the roster that come back. You mentioned Marquise not coming back, and so it's a work in progress. I think they still have some winnable games on the schedule.
Yes.
They still got to play Woodbridge twice. They have JFK. They got this game here. So they got some winnable games. So in your travels here throughout the GMC this year. Who jumps out at you? I know you could probably list any number of teams, but obviously some teams in the red.
The red, I think this year is the most balanced top to bottom. If you look at the red and the white, the big schools.
Okay.
If you look
South
top to bottom,
Monroe, teams like that.
Not just them. Stevens has actually played pretty well. Amboy, even though they didn't play last year, has been competitive a lot more than I thought they would be. And Old Bridge.
You mean Perth Amboy for those that are listening? Perth Amboy. Not as opposed to South Amboy.
Perth Amboy, that's correct.
Yes.
Did I say South Amboy?
No, you said Amboy, so I wanted to clear that up.
Okay. Yeah, Perth Amboy. I know they've dropped off a little bit. They started the year 3-1, and they've lost I think 7 out of their last 8 since then. But he's been competitive. We only saw them lose by 2 to Monroe a couple weeks ago, or last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And that was a game, if you look at it now, you'd say, wow, it was that close? Because Monroe has been unbelievable. I mean, they've played really well. They've been one of the big surprises. Although I didn't think they would be as much a surprise. I kind of thought they were a top 10 team. They had a lot of those kids coming up through the program. Those guys that are seniors now were in the Final Four of the Amboy tournament as freshmen. So it's not too much of a surprise to me as maybe to other people. Them beating Joe's and South Brunswick the way they did might be a little surprising. But even there, like I said, the red division is pretty solid top to bottom this year. Even with St. Joe's, even you throw in St. Joe's, Old Bridge is tough. He's got 4 really good freshmen there that are kind of seeing some minutes early on because they were a little depleted early because of COVID or whatever reason. Ryan Whitty and Nate Johnson hadn't been in the lineup for them, and then they played East Brunswick, and they beat East Brunswick. East Brunswick beat them by 16 the first time, although I think it was a pretty close game for much of the game until the fourth quarter when East Brunswick pulled away. But, I think that division, the white division, if you look at it, it's Aquinas, Colonia, and Edison, and then everybody else.
I was going to ask you about Aquinas because we only have a couple minutes left before the second half, so my last question is Aquinas. I wish I had time to talk to you about the blue and the gold, but Aquinas, is this their GMC tournament to win?
I think as of right now, yes, but if Edison and Colonia could upset them, it could definitely make things a lot more wide open. Because if you look at the red, it's very balanced in the red. And if Colony and Edison can come up with that win, that signature win, yeah, I think you could see it pretty wide open. And I tell you what, South River and South Plainfield in the blue, they're nothing to sleep on either. South Plainfield's beaten East Brunswick, and South River beat Keyport the other day, and Keyport gave Randy all of their money the time they played a couple weeks ago. So the blue division's pretty tough. Spotswood and Middlesex are pretty tough as well. Yep. And then you can't count out Metuchen with Schiappa either. He's a pretty good player. They're pretty competitive. And then in the gold, I would say it's Timothy, Wardlaw, Calvary, and Amboy Tech.
Yep. And the Raiders will see South Plainfield in the near future. Greg Machos from GMC Hoops. You can catch him on Twitter at GMC Hoops. Greg, as always, thanks a million, all right?
All right, you're welcome, Corbett. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.